So make your way into Shavasana. Welcome yourself back to your practice. You can take a few just kind of cleansing breaths today, maybe. So as you inhale, try breathing through your nose. As you exhale, you can open up the mouth, maybe even stick out your tongue, just maybe stretch through the fingers, the toes, stretch out your face. And then maybe try that a couple more times so it felt good. So just inhale through the nose. Exhale, maybe sigh it out. Maybe groan, just let out your day's frustration. And then just one more time, inhale. Exhale. And then closing the mouth, start to just feel your breath moving deeply down into the base of the torso and on up. Filling you up from belly to collarbones, and then emptying out. Same thing, release through the belly, in the middle, and upper chest. Just finding your own pace with the breath, and as you start to be more focused and aware of your breathing, start to tune into how the body feels. So any tension, any effort, just try to soften, let your bones settle, and the muscles relax. So whatever is on your mind still from the day, just see if you can let that go as well. And just let this be your time to focus inward, recharge, and reconnecting with yourself and letting go of hopefully a little bit of stress, not just in the body, but emotional, mental. So we'll take just a few more rounds. Letting go. So feel yourself breathing in and out, tuning into the body, clearing out the mind. And then on your next breath in, just take a little pause at the top of your breath, maybe setting an intention for this practice. And then when you're ready, just let go of the breath, releasing very slowly, sinking back down into the floor. And then just coming back to a normal pattern of breathing. Staying focused on this intention or just on your breathing, on your body. Start to move the fingers and the toes. You can move wrists and ankles. And then let's take our just kind of end-to-end stretch. So you can reach up through the hands, bring the feet a little closer. You might just extend through the fingers down through the heels, or maybe point the toes. And flex the wrists. You can circle them around again. Just whatever feels good. And then let's just bring the right knee in toward the chest, and we're gonna come into just an easy, relaxed position here, wrapping the hands, or you can always use a strap if you're straining to reach the leg, but you can interlace your fingers, drop the shoulders down away from the ears. Let your hands come around that shin or the back of the thigh. And just keeping the body as relaxed as possible. So no effort in the legs, just using the weight of your arms to let the knee come in toward the chest. So tuning into your breath. And just keep softening. You might even be able to wrap your arms a little more around your leg. Maybe grab your wrists or your elbows. And just come a little deeper if that's available. Just feeling this compression. And that right thigh just right in toward the right side of the rib cage. So I invite you to stay right here if you just want to remain in stillness. Or if you'd like, you can start to explore just a little bit of movement. So try to focus on the connection between your femur bone and your hip joint. And you can start to bring the knee in a little bit toward the midline of the body. Try not to lift your right hip off the floor. And then you can kind of draw the knee a bit closer in toward the chest. And then kind of bring it back out away from you. So you're just kind of moving this femur bone a little bit back and forth, but it's almost like your knee is making a little bit of a crescent moon shape. So just keep softening, no effort in the leg, just gently guiding the knee a little forward and back. Try not to move your pelvis. So the only thing moving is your leg and your arms guiding your leg. So keep breathing as deeply as you can. Stay focused. And then again, you can hold in stillness, or if you're moving, try taking the knee over to the right. Again, you want the hips to stay grounded, pelvis to just stay where it is. And then again, you can just move the knee a little bit forward and a little bit back. So again, just kind of taking a little bit of a crescent moon shape. You can just use your right hand here. It's a little cumbersome to have both hands on the knee or the leg, and then just maybe place your left hand against your left hip, anchoring the leg down, the pelvis down. So we'll take a couple more breaths. I'm just kind of connecting with that, connecting the femur bone and the hip joint, see how it's moving. And then if you like, you can try circling the knee all the way around in one direction. And try to keep the pelvis quiet. Just feel that full circle, that femur bone in the hip joint, and then circle the other way, nice and slow. And then let's release, coming back to just a relaxed position. So you can step the feet a little wider apart. Take a deep breath in and then exhale, just sink into the floor again. You can close your eyes if they're not already and just notice the energy around that right side of the body. Breathing deeply. Remember your intention. And then let's try that on the other side. So you can bring the feet a little closer together. And then just bring your left knee straight in toward the chest. Again, you can wrap your hands or your arms or strap around the front of the shin or the back of the thigh. Just let that knee fall in toward the middle of the left side of your rib cage. So your knees in line with your hip. Your right heel is in line with your right hip, so just straight out from your hip joint. And again, we'll just take a few moments to soften the legs, soften the arms. Become aware of this little bit of compression, its effect. You can still feel yourself breathe here, hopefully. So again, this is all you have to do. If it's available, you might try wrapping your arms a little bit more around your leg. So maybe you brought the knee in a little bit. And you can take a little different grip. And your arms relaxed. Shoulders down away from your ears. Neck and face. Nice and relaxed. So again, you might just stay right here, or you can explore that little bit of movement. So starting by bringing the knee in toward the midline. And then you can guide the knee a little bit forward and a little bit back. Just observing how that leg is moving, what you're feeling. Hip joint. Breath stays easy. And again, we're trying not to shift the pelvis because that can cause lower back pain. So just try to keep the pelvis quiet. We're just moving the leg, getting it moving well. Retraining any patterns of compensation that might occur when we do this movement where we're kind of moving the pelvis and affecting the back, lower back area. So just kind of notice if your pelvis wants to shift. Keep it quiet, even if that means moving the leg a little bit less. And then you can explore the other side. So taking the knee out to the left. Again, maybe anchor down the hip with your right hand. And just move the leg using your left arm and hand. So just kind of bringing it back and forth. Again, just that little crescent moon kind of shape as you move the knee. That stays easy, steady. Just explore. And then again, you can try a big circle if you did that on the other side. So just bringing the knee around nice and slow, feeling all of those places where the femur bone is connecting with the hip joint. And then you can circle around the other way. Again, try not to shift the pelvis. And then we'll all meet back in Shavasana. So letting your leg go, again, just maybe a little wider apart with the feet. You can relax your arms. Just notice what you feel. All right, so now that we're a little bit more open through the hips, you can start to bend the knees and just kind of roll off to one side and come to an upright position. So you can raise one arm up, roll to your side, and then use your other hand to just gently press up and just take your time. And then we'll make our way into butterfly pose. So this is another hip opener. You can bring the soles of your feet together, and your knees out apart. As always here, a prop that might be helpful, a little something underneath your hips. Or you might take a prop or maybe a couple props kind of stacked on your feet or on the floor to come into a forward fold. So just try to find a nice relaxed position where you can gently round your spine forward. Relax your head and your neck. You can also do this without any props at all, just a gentle tucking of your chin, leaning forward. But again, just try to make this accessible, make this comfortable. Another idea is to bring a little support under your knees, under your thighs. And just come back to your breathing. How the body feels. Checking in with your intention for your practice. If you didn't really have anything in particular in mind, you can come back to that, just release of stress. A bit of a visualization here. So as you breathe in, just inviting in the sense of warmness, a sense of light, maybe just a vision of a white light coming into the body, just filling you up as you breathe. As you exhale, you can release stress, maybe feeling a red heat or black smoke, releasing it back into the earth. Just leaving that on the mat today. And allowing that to just create some new space. As you're releasing, you're making room for whatever you might need on that inhale, just bringing in that sense of lightness. It's a sense of joy or just relief. And sense that everything will work out fine. Just trusting in yourself, trusting in the universe. Letting go of anxiety. Just take a few more rounds of breath here. Preparing to come out of this, start to lift up. And setting any props aside and out of the way. You can take your hands behind you. Maybe your fingertips point back. You can take your feet nice and wide. And just take a few little windshield wipers, those knees side to side. You can think about really lifting your heart, drawing your shoulder blades on your back. Just try not to lock your elbows. Maybe you can lift your chin and look up a little bit. Nice, easy breath. Again, just seeing how the legs are moving in hip joints. So keep your sit bones grounded. Okay. All right, so next let's come up and I'm going to take a side bend. Nice supported variation is what I will demonstrate first. You can choose to do that or do a dragon pose, so more of a lunge position. So real quick, if you're going to do the side bend, you can bring a couple blankets or maybe a bolster under where your rib cage is going to be. And just pick a side. I'm starting with my right side down, so this left side is going to get a nice stretch, but you can do either one. Just raise your bottom arm out with the palm up, so you can just kind of rest your head on top of your arm. You can keep your knees bent, or you can try straightening your legs, either staggering them or stacking them. And then once you feel comfortable, you can try taking your other arm up and over, maybe give it a gentle tug on the wrist, or just bring the palms together, whatever's comfortable. If you want to do the lunge, lizard pose, same thing to stretch out the left side. I'm going to just have a little padding under my knees, bring a block forward, and then I'm going to step my left foot forward, actually. I'm going to block over to the right. And then just resting a forearm on the block. Nice wide stance with this foot. You can kind of drop the knee out to the side. Take the left arm across. And just feel a stretch from your pinky finger all the way down to your hip. So wherever you are, I'm just going to stay in this side bend position. So just focusing in on your breath. Staying present, staying focused. Again, maybe you're visualizing, releasing tension. Maybe you're focused on another intention. And just give yourself this time to release. A little time to connect and recharge. Giving yourself whatever you might need today. You are in this lunge, you might find you end up coming down right onto the floor off the block eventually, if that feels good. You might find it's comfortable to rest your head right in the crook of your arm. Maybe about 4 or 5 more breaths, really feeling your breath still coming into the whole of your torso, really filling you up. Exhaling, feeling that release. Almost like a bellows, just breathing in and out. Great. So after your next exhale, you start to gently inhale and bring yourself out of this. So if you were in the lunge position, you can come for a moment into maybe a table pose or sink back into a child's pose. If you were on your side, just come up for a moment into any comfortable seated position. Really press down into the floor, lengthening through the crown of your head, just straightening out the spine. Notice the effect. And then we'll do that on the other side. So same thing, you can have that stack of blankets under the rib cage on the other side. Raising the arms up and the feet long down toward your mat, or you can always keep your knees bent, whatever is comfortable. And then again for our lunge, 1 foot forward. I've got my right forward this time. I'm going to bring my forearm onto the block, a little over to the left. I've got my foot and my block almost like a mat width distance apart, and the knees kind of dropping up to the side. So whatever is comfortable here for this front foot, the toes can be a little turned out. You might roll more onto the edge of your foot. And again, we'll just hold and breathe, lengthening through that side body from your fingertips all the way down to your hip crease. And just noticing where your mind is at. Try to stay present. Stay connected. And maybe about 4 or 5 more breaths. And after your next exhale, inhale and start to gently make your way out of the pose. So again, if you were in that dragon lunge variation, you might just come to a table or maybe a child's pose and rest. Or you can just sit in an upright position, just pressing into the floor, lengthening up from the crown of the head. Effect. Nice. So next we're going to do caterpillar pose. So coming back to a seated position, legs out in front of you. Again, you can always sit up on a little something, especially if you find your pelvis is tilting back to start. So we want to get a nice upright position for the pelvis so that we can forward fold without straining the lower back here. So you can have props under the hips. You can have maybe a bolster or some blankets out in front of you. You might, so you can rest your head on something, or you might have the props in closer to protect your back as you start to come forward. So again, we're just going to tuck the chin, leaning forward. Make sure that your toes are pointing straight up so your feet aren't out to the side. So you're focusing on the whole back side of the body, lengthening the backs of the legs and the spine. If this is a little too intense for the back, for the hamstrings, you can try a little prop under the legs, under the knees maybe. Rolled blanket works well. So you don't have any hyperextension through the knees. We don't want that anyway. So if you do have the legs straight, just make sure there's a little micro bend behind the knees. Again, this can really help bring the little support underneath the ribs, having the knees bent. So however you are, just relax into it. If you don't have props, you can also try bending your elbows, just resting your head in your hands. Or again, the head can just hang. Into breathing. And your torso up. Feeling the torso expanding, not just through the belly and the chest, but also you can really feel it in your back here, your sides, expanding out in all directions. Just remind yourself this is your time. Try to let go of planning. Thoughts about your day. Just stay present. This is all you have to do right now. Just let yourself be. Your job is to relax and breathe. And make sure you're not straining in the pose or in the breath. Last couple of breaths. After your exhale, you can breathe in and start to gently lift back out of your forward fold. And setting aside any props. Bring your hands behind you again, shake up the legs, maybe rock them a little side to side. And then let's come into a back bend. So I'm going to demonstrate a supported fish pose. And the way you want to do your legs in this pose is up to you. So the configuration of these blocks is going to give me a nice open chest. So I'm going to have this first block kind of right underneath my heart. So the bottom bit of the block, you can see, it's going to be right at kind of where my bra strap is. And then the top of the block will be a little higher. And then I'm going to set it a little forward of another block. So you can have this lower if it's okay for you to extend your neck back. If not, you can have it higher than the first block, more supportive. So then you might take a blanket just over your prop, or you can use a bolster, kind of like a ramp, if that, especially if that back one's a little bit higher. So a few ideas for the position of the legs. First of all, you want to scoot yourself forward so that when you start to lean back, again, you want to find that spot under the heart, front of the block against where your bra strap would be. And then the head comes back and feels supported. So you can just have your legs kind of in that butterfly position again, or straight out in front of you. You can have your knees bent, feet on the floor, maybe take the feet wide, knock the knees together. Or if you really want to stretch the front of the legs, you can try coming into a saddle pose. And this can be a little bit intense, so you can always have a little something underneath your hips, but you might have to have a little higher prop behind you. So come back into it. And I've just got my tops of the feet on the floor. The knees are in line with the hips, but yours might be a little bit wider apart, and that would be okay. You can also sit right on your feet in saddle pose, or you can do one leg at a time. So we're going to hang out here, and if you are in a half saddle pose, I'll let you know when we're about halfway through, so you can switch. So with half saddle, you would just have one knee bent, your other leg out in front of you. And then feel free to adjust the position of your arms here too, so they can be at your sides, palms up, or maybe reach them up, maybe clasp opposite elbows. That feels relaxed. Kind of depends on where your props are and what you're using. So now we're just opening up that whole front part of the body. Feeling the effect of just having your shoulders fall away from the chest. Maybe your head's a little tilted back. If you're in saddle, you're maybe getting that stretch across the front of the hamstring, in front of the hips as well. Your hip flexors, your quads. And just give yourself some time to release, melting over your props. Feeling that openness in the heart. I know we all spend a lot of time on computers, on our phones, driving. This just allows, rather than that forward hunched movement, we'll counter. Opening up. All right, so if you are in half saddle, you can switch to the other side. Continue to hold. And just notice if thoughts start to form, start to come into the mind. See if you can sort of acknowledge them and set them aside. Come back to the breath, your intention. Just what you're feeling here in the body. If there's a certain area of the body you feel you're releasing tension out of, you can do visualization there. Releasing out that red heat or black smoke. Inviting in that healing white light. Maybe you're feeling a little resistance. Shoulders, chest. The face is a little tense. Brow is furrowed. And these last few breaths, just surrender, melt, let go. All right, so to come out, just gently lift the head, tuck your chin. You can bring your elbows, maybe your forearms down, maybe even grip the outside of your mat and lift from your heart. And then we'll just take the legs back out in front of us. You can give them a little shake again, a little rock. And just feel the effect. Nice. So we're going to make our way back down onto the back. So any props, just set them aside, but within reach. And as you come down, you might take a second, just bring the knees into the chest. A little counter pose here for that back bend. You can feel your lower back pressing against the floor. You might take some just very small movements or just be still here. And then next, I invite you to try an inversion. So you can have your arms resting at your sides, legs just stretching up toward the ceiling. Or if you want a little elevation for the hips, you can come up onto a prop. So maybe a block or a blanket underneath the sacrum. You just want to make sure that it's not pressing onto your lower back. So nice and low underneath the sacrum, the pelvis. And then you can bring your feet up for that inversion. If you want to go into a little more intense variation, you can try snail pose. So I like a little prop just to elevate my shoulders so I don't cramp my neck. So I've just got this folded blanket, and the top of the blanket is going to be in line with the top of my shoulders. And build a little momentum, and then kick the feet up and over, bringing the feet behind. So they might not come all the way to the floor. You can always do this over a chair or sofa, or maybe have your feet resting on some stacked blankets or a bolster. Or they can even just hang out. That's fine. They don't ever have to touch the floor, as long as that's not putting too much strain on the body. You can support the back with your hands. Just make sure your neck stays straight. And just gonna take a few moments, turning ourselves upside down. And make sure the breath is easy. You're not straining, not holding your breath. Continue to let it flow. And stay present. Feeling that breath moving in and out. And feeling the sensations in the body. So see if you can take maybe 1 or 2 more breaths. And then gently ease yourself back out of this. So again, you can use your hands if you're in that snail pose to support your back as you lower your hips back down to the floor. If you're on a block, you can bring your feet back to the floor, lift your hips and slide out from under you or whatever prop you've got. And then we'll all meet up again, just bringing those knees into the chest. One more time, maybe rock around. If you prefer, you can take windshield wipers, just gently rocking those knees side to side. And then we're going to make our way into a twist. So you can bring your feet back down to the floor. And then just lift your hips a little bit, scoot them to the right. If you like, you can take a cross-legged position, so your right thigh over your left, and then roll onto your left side. Your legs might come all the way to the floor, or you can support them, maybe a block or blanket under your knees or under your legs. You can also just have your legs stacked on top of each other. Try to create about a 90-degree angle so you can just see your toes beyond your knees. And then you can stretch your right arm back out to your side, maybe turning your head to the right. Your hands can anchor down your legs, or you can just have both arms outstretched, or maybe either in a cactus position. And we'll go ahead and hold here in this twist. Breathing into your whole spine. You might be looking up, or your head can be turned to the right. Just keep softening, feeling the breath, filling you up and emptying you out. beginning to release tension. Just about 4 or 5 more breaths here. And then to come out after your next exhale, if the legs are crossed, you might uncross them first if you wish, and then just bring one leg up at a time. So you use your left hand to bring one leg up and then go back for the other. Just gently rolling back onto the back. You can take your knees in, maybe circle them around. And then we'll drop the feet. You can shift the hips over to the left. Again, you might cross your legs, so left over right this time, lowering them to the floor on the right. Otherwise, you can just stack the legs. Again, they might come all the way down, or you can have a prop under them. If your legs aren't crossed, you can have a prop in between. And then feel your rib cage rotate as you stretch your left arm back toward the left, maybe turning your head. Try to keep your knees and knees and hips stacked on top of each other if you're not in a crossed position. And again, we'll hold. Just feel. So it's our last pose before Shavasana. Just wringing out any kinks, any tension, hopefully. By your day or even by this practice. Giving your spine a chance to release. Great pose for the internal organs. Just be, just feel. That's all you have to do. Just a few more breaths. Twist. Again, try coming out nice and slow. So if the legs are crossed, you might uncross them, and then just take your right hand under that left leg and bring it up, and then you can go back for the right and just gently roll back onto your back. Bring those knees in one more time. Find whatever feels good. You might drop the feet down and just straighten out your spine. Get ready for a final relaxation, but there might be the last little thing your body's asking you for. Maybe just a quick little happy baby pose can be nice at the end of practice. Just one more release for that lower back and hips. Or just whatever else you might be feeling you need. And then you can make your way back to a nice final relaxation. So you can take Shavasana again. Just arms at your sides, feet a little wider. Or you can take your arms up and out into kind of a 5-pointed star shape, pentacle pose. You might take one more inhale through the nose, exhale out through the mouth like you did at the beginning of practice, that cleansing breath, just let everything go. And then making sure you're warm, you're comfortable using any props you need. Close down the eyes and just feel. So again, just allowing yourself to be. And stay connected with the present. You can let go of any control over your breathing. Just let it flow as if you were sleeping. You can continue to visualize that warm white light as you breathe in. Remaining tension, letting it go, and your exhales. Maybe you're feeling pretty good at this stage in your practice. And you can try taking some of this good energy out. A little Tonglen meditation. So kind of doing the opposite. Envisioning as you breathe in that you could take away maybe a loved one suffering, or a group of people or animals, whatever pain you'd like to alleviate in the world today. And then as you breathe out, just sending out good vibes back into that person or people or animals. As if you could give them whatever they need. So relieving their suffering, taking it in on their inhale. Exhaling out. And maybe a sense of joy, relief, and unhappiness or suffering. Whatever your focus is on, stay present. Maybe cultivate just a sense of gratitude that you were able to take some time out of your day for this practice. For this connection. And just continue to relax. And from the Tao, turning to a random page, chapter 32. The Tao can't be perceived. Smaller than an electron, it contains uncountable galaxies. Powerful men and women could remain centered in the Tao. All things would be in harmony. The world would become a paradise. All people would be at peace, and the law would be written in their hearts. When you have names and forms, know that they are provisional. When you have institutions, know where their function should end. Knowing when to stop, you can avoid any danger. All things end in the Tao, as rivers flow into the sea. So you can begin to deepen your breath again. Maybe taking in your surroundings, just the air around you, the scents, the sounds. You can move fingers, toes. Just reconnecting with the body, circling ankles and wrists if you like. You might take that end-to-end stretch again that we started with, feet together, reach the arms up. Or anything that feels good, maybe just bring your knees to your chest one more time. So when you feel ready, you can bend your knees and roll to the side again. Just resting your head on your arm for a moment. The other hand in front of you, pressing down to lift up. And just really take your time to come up. Let your head hang heavy as you rise. And just feel the effects of this practice on body, mind, and spirit. And if you'd like, you can rest your hands or you can bring them to your heart. Sending yourself some gratitude for taking a little time for yourself tonight. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Okay. So